Hey, do you like cold water? Me too. I want to thank the sponsor, the coldest water. This thing will hold your water cold for 36 hours or hot for 12 hours, which is pretty good. So if you want to win one of these, there'll be a link in the description. Or if you just want to buy one, there's also a link in the description. Joseph, I want to welcome you to my podcast, the J. Garcia podcast.
Jehu, thanks for having me, man. Congratulations on the new shop, by the way. I'm proud of you.
Yes, I'm still working on it. Eventually, we'll get it done, or we can do a shop tour and stuff. But for right now, we're doing these podcasts and stuff. We're inviting all the people at the top of their fields, and your name came to mind because you guys are doing a lot of cool stuff. Why don't you tell us what you do for those of us or those of you watching that are not familiar with what you do?
Yeah, no worries. Smart Charge America. So I started Smart Charge America in 2007, and basically it was I bought the new iPhone, and I realized after plugging, like I bought the iPhone, and then I bought maybe 4 different chargers, and I remember I had one in my car, one in my house, one in my bedroom, in the kitchen, at work, and everywhere I went, I was plugging in the iPhone because the back screen. Remember, we had the old Blueberries and Palm Pilots. And the back screen, the backlight, didn't really, it wasn't as bright as it was on the iPhone. And so everywhere I went, I was it's kind of a plugging in. And so I was already following, some of the classic cars, hot rods, and, of course, technology. I was a technology geek and, heard a little bit about electric vehicles, didn't think too much of it. But as I kept plugging in my iPhone, I started realizing, wait, eventually if this electric vehicle thing catches on, I'm eventually somebody's gonna need to keep plugging these things in, just like I'm plugging in my iPhone. Somebody's gonna need to keep plugging these vehicles in. And so I just came up with the idea. I was like, all right, let me start something. Started doing conversion enthusiasts, helping those guys out. And then 2009 hits, 2008. I did a couple of Tesla Roadsters, a couple more conversion enthusiasts. And then 2010, 2011 hit. I'm doing a lot more residential chargers for Nissan Leaf customers and Volt customers. 12 hits, of course, Tesla, start doing the Model S rollouts. And then from there, it kept snowballing. So basically what we do is we provide electric vehicle charging station installation services for residential, commercial, as well as utility grade applications. If you're a city and you have 500 charging stations, in your territory, we can come in and we can service all of those charging stations and just make sure they're always up and running at all times. So, residential commercial service, that's exactly what it is that we do. But we started off mainly residential. So yeah, I'd go around, in my little truck and, pop open my trunk and, you'd have 8 charging stations with little price tags on them. And I'd tell the customer to pick which one they want. And I want this one. I'm like, all right, cool. And, it's $800 for the install. All right, awesome. Let's do it. When do you want to do it? So that's exactly what it is we do. We provide electric car charging station installation services for folks.
Oh, wow. So the EVSC, right? Is that what it's commonly known as?
Electric vehicle service equipment. Not a lot of people, only only us, we'll know it, that it's referred to it as that. But
it's weird because I started, I recognized it as that, right? I didn't even know what the acronym meant, right? Yeah. But I'm like, it's that thing that you put in the wall, and I understand more in detail what it is that it does, but I'm like, it's that thing that it's in the wall that has a plug and then you connect it to your car. That's called EVSE. Because people are like, a charger. And I'm like, well, the charger's not really that thing in the wall. That's just a cord. That's just a fancy cord. The charger's actually on board.
That's right.
For level 2, at least,
Yeah. Look, when you're explaining to a customer who just bought their EV, they don't really know that much about electric vehicles. You have to be very distinguishable in telling the difference between that, because they will get confused. So.
Yeah, and and those for you watching, it's level 2 is it's a 110 also, or only 220.
Mainly 220. I mean, I've only had to do the 110s when the dealership sold the vehicle and it didn't have the trickle charger with it. And then I would have to go online and try to find the manufacturer of the trickle charger, and then I could sell it to the dealership or sell it directly to the customer. I've only done that maybe 6 or 7 times, but mainly level 2 charging stations.
Yeah, level 2, that came after the original paddle, thing that came up in the EV1 era, right? This is way back in the day.
Yeah, I've been trying to get my hands on one of those induction chargers for a while, man. So
yeah, right, just as a collector kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah. We got a little museum in the back of the shop, and it kind of showcases all the old school, electric car charging stations from back in the day. So that's the holy grail. So I'm still trying to get my hands on one of those.
So I guess that was like Gen 1 of the modern, I'd say the modern charging protocols, I guess. And then level 2 came out. That's called J1772.
That's correct.
Right, and that's level 2. And that's the thing that you'll put in your garage and you'll use to charge cars. And that's usually 220, and it goes up to like 40. I know that there's some I have one that's just 60 amps, but that's pushing it, right? That's like up there. It's just like about max of 10 kilowatt, I think, that it can do.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're going over that, especially like with Tesla's Generation 2 models. I mean, if you're going over that 60 amps, you're kind of you're going to be thrown into some overheating issues occasionally, and so Tesla realized that from their version, Gen 1 and Gen 2, and they dumbed their third generation down to hit a maximum of 60 amps. So yeah, I mean, 60 amps is right where you want to be, really.
So the physical size of the connector, they realized they can't handle that much, and you can push it, but you can't really push it reliably. They were having way too many of these just like melting and stuff, right? So that's level 2. For those of you don't know or are new into electric vehicles, that's like around 10 kilowatts and under. That's the max that you'll get, and that's basically all there is available for us to charge at home, right? Level 3 would be considered what? That's like DC charging, fast charging.
DC, man, that's 480 volts. Normal residential homes, they're not 3-phase electrical. They're just single phase. So.
They're single phase, yeah. So what that means, I can actually put that here because I have 3-phase.
That's right.
Ooh. But here's the thing: my electrical service or whatever, the whatever plan I'm at, they don't want me to go above 20 kilowatt, or else they'll start charging me more. I'll go into another tier or whatever, because this is zoned just for for offices, just office use or whatever. But yeah, so that's what that is, and you mainly do that and install that. There's a bunch of different ones, right? Like how many different models, versions of those things exist?
Man, I mean, if you're looking at the residential chargers, I always tell there are about 86 different types of residential home charging stations to choose from out there. There's about 97 commercial charging stations to choose from. But mainly, I would say between the manufacturers, there's about, I'd say, 11 manufacturers that are manufacturing these. Most of them have to be UL listed. We don't sell anything that's not UL listed, certified EVSE. So, when you're dealing with that, you got about 11 to 12. But what we're seeing that most of the customers are wanting are usually, the charge points, the juice box, the Clipper Creeks, and of course the Teslas. Those are your main 4 manufacturers.
Those are the top ones?
Yeah. Those are your
really? Top. The juice box made the list, huh?
Yeah, look, Enel took those guys over. They were formerly E-Motorworks. Enel took over, and Enel's doing a really great job of
oh, no way.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they were in trouble or something, but they're good.
They're selling, man. I mean, we're selling them. We're selling them a lot.
Wow. Okay, so I got 2 of those juice boxes. The original version, the one that you have to solder.
You had to build it. I had to build it back in the day. You did too. So yeah.
Yeah. I have a video where I got it in parts, and you have to solder the cables, and you have to put it in the box and stuff. Then I got a second generation where that one's built, right? And that was like a 40 watt, 40 amp, and that's the one I have at home, which is crazy because I'm like, I have it outside because it's weather seal and stuff, but it's mostly the only car that uses that is a Tesla. So I'm like, I need to change this thing because we got to keep using that stupid connector adapter, right? And I'm like, I just need to get a Tesla one, and then, because that's, I charge that inside at home on my garage. Because here's the thing, the inside of the garage, I park this thing, and the Tesla goes outside. I'm like, I don't care about the Tesla.
So the Samba, that's my baby. That's my baby.
Yes. I'm like, that stupid modern car, leave it outside. Who cares? If someone steals it, so that they charge outside. But so I need to change that. And then here I was able to find a big lot of like electric car components. And with it came a Clipper Creek one.
Oh, nice.
And so that I almost got it for free. And so that's what I installed here at the shop. And that's what I have. So I have basically I have two of the top brands.
Nice.
According to you, right?
Nikki Gordon Bloomfield, she was on your podcast last time, and we went out and installed a Clipper Creek at her shop when she had her new shop. So and that was to help her with the Chevy Bolt that she had. So
yeah.
Clipper Creeks are very popular, man. A really good unit, and they warranty those stations. I mean, they stand for the product. It's really good stuff.
I know it's a little bit annoying. Like I go down to EV West, and Michael has a couple of them that are 30 amps. I think they're the smaller ones, and my bus has 7.5 kilowatts. So I'll pull like 42. When I first like plug it in, it'll pull like 45 amps or something like that. And so it trips them, and I'm like, oh my God, disconnect that thing, You're like, I'm trying to disconnect one of my chargers but I'm like, I'm trying to charge as quick as possible because usually I'm trying to charge while I'm there and then head back that same day, right? And I got about 100 miles to travel, so usually I'm like, get me the extension cord, and I'm trying to plug in 2, and I'm even using some of his chargers. So sometimes I have like 3 or 4 chargers on my bus charging, and I'm doing like 100 amps into the battery. Like it's crazy because I'm trying to fast charge, right? On this
of course. If you
DIY car.
You got the BMS for it. Go ahead.
I don't have a BMS actually, but that's okay because I have Tesla batteries and they're super well balanced, and I check them every once in a while. So yeah, I mean, I don't recommend that anymore. I used to recommend that to people. I'm like, don't do the BMSs, but I gotta be responsible now. And their BMSs are so much better now. So in the early days, they did more harm than they did any good. So I'm like, if you build your battery pack correctly, you're better off without a cheap BMS.
Yeah.
Right? But now things have changed. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look, Michael's been in the industry. I've been following Michael back in the day. I mean, he was really a huge component of me kind of getting started out here in Texas. What he's doing out there in EV West, and he started shooting a couple of videos new. I don't know if you've seen that.
Recently.
And that he's working on, man. It's super stoked out to see what he's able to do with that thing.
Yeah, they actually got a record on that vehicle. They set a new world record on that land speed.
Holy crap!
Car. Yeah, they went out there and like I messaged them, right? I'm like, you just built that car. When are you gonna test it? And they're like, we're gonna run it. That's gonna be our test. And they literally got within 30 miles of our new record on the first run.
Wow.
And I go, wait a minute, you're not gonna test it. He goes, how are you gonna test it? There's no, where else can you go 200 miles an hour? There is no other place. Like you literally have to test it on the track while you're going. While you're competing essentially.
Yeah.
And I'll go, oh, that's
crazy.
We
follow you guys out in Texas. We're following you guys religiously, man. I tend to learn from case studies out in China and Europe. I like to see what those guys are doing with charging infrastructure, but I have to watch you guys. You guys are on the forefronts of this stuff, and so y'all are leading the pack. So.
Yeah. Michael has been at it for a long time, right? And me with my DIY thing, I don't know. I don't know where I fit in this whole thing, but I know that I'm a user, and I think my gig is to inspire people because that's that's what everybody tells me that I do. It's like, oh man, I'm building a car because I saw you build yours, and I'm doing this because I saw you do it. And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm doing the thing. But I think I should install. How hard is it to install a fast charger here, like on my building?
Fast charger. I mean, that takes a lot. I mean, most of them you have to, have a concrete pad, if you want it mounted. You rarely can find them that mount on the wall. You're looking at somewhere upwards to about maybe 10,000 for a 25 kilowatt, maybe 50 kilowatt charger. No, I think 25 kilowatts you could probably find for about 10, 12 grand.
Wow.
Cost of permits and installation, you're probably looking somewhere around 20 grand, 25 grand altogether.
Damn. Yeah,
that's for the 25. That's the 50s are ranging around 40,000 to 35,000 a piece.
No way. Why are they so expensive?
It's just the manufacturing. There's not that many out there, So you got the BTCs, you got the charge points, you got the tritiums, and
what are they? Are they just? They're just a bunch of chargers stacked together, right?
That's it, man.
I mean, I have 7.5 kilowatts in my bus right now, right? So it's just like if I were to put 10 of those in there, right, then I'd have a 70 kilowatt charger, right? So is that all it is? It's just a box with a bunch of those chargers in there parallel?
That's it. And the manufacturers, some of them make it really complex. If manufacturers from China, like the QTCs, that Nissan originally rolled out with their program, those are a lot more complex than the ones that Charge Points are coming out with right now with their CPE 250s and the V fills with tritium. They had a more complex, and since then they've kind of revitalized their generation on that one. So much better technology inside those V fills.
I see. And they're all run in 3-phase? There's none that run on like 2-phase or single-phase, split-phase?
Most of them have 2 ports, and you can only use 1 port at a time. So when you're seeing the 2 ports, you're like, oh, there's 2 ports. You can 2 cars can plug in, but no, not with DC fast charging. Only 1 at a time.
It's just the amount of sheer power that they're transferring, right? Like, I guess let's do the math here. So if you have, like at home, right, most people will have 100 amps or 200 amp service.
Yeah, about 200 amps is what we're seeing.
So that's modern, right? Yeah. And let's say that you're like, well, screw it, I'm going to use all 200 amps. So 200 amps times 220 volts. Well, that's about 44 kilowatt.
Yeah.
So you could run a 25 kilowatt DC
You might not have lights on, but you could run it,
Yeah, everything else will dim, and you might blow up the neighborhood, the transformer in the summer if you want to charge. But you could do it. I guess. Here's the thing: you would pay quite a bit of money because the utilities don't like it when you pull that much power for extended periods of time. In fact, that is what's happening here in California. I don't know if you've been following the news, but we're in a state of emergency. Like, there's definitely too much demand, and I guess that our prices are super high right now, right? Yep. I think if you use anything like during peak hour, I think what do they call it? Super peak?
Something like that.
I think they called it like critical peak time or critical something like that. It's gonna cost us a ton of money. I don't know what it is. We're already at like 50 cents a kilowatt hour during peak.
Wow.
I think it's going to be more than that.
Critical peak pricing.
Critical peak pricing. That's what it's called.
Wow.
What is it? Do you know?
No.
It's going to be more than 50 cents. It's going to be more than. So that's the problem. That let's talk about the grids. The grids are having trouble keeping up. How do you guys deal with that when you guys are installing that? Like, let's say there's a customer. Let's say that I called you one day. I'm like, look, I have the shop. I want an industrial building. I want to put 20 stations here, DC fast charging stations. What do you say?
Well, it depends on the utility's design criteria on what you're trying to do. So when you're going into like the planning phase and you're trying to pull a permit for that particular size installation, the utility, you have to submit your permit and all your plans. The utility company is going to grab the plans, and they're going to see if their transformers have enough power to be able to supply exactly what it is you're wanting, right? So let's say, and this happens a lot with Tesla Supercharger sites, the transformer on site isn't large enough to be able to supply the power that they need. So the utility has to come out, they have to take that transformer down, they have to put a much larger transformer there, that extends and of course increases the size, the cost of the actual installation. You got to pour a new pad, you got to pour all the stuff, and so with DC fast charging, if you're looking at adding more than, and most of the time more than two, if you're looking at 4, 8, 10, like these Electrify America sites, you're going to have to upgrade your utility transformer when you're going to that site, and that.
And the reason for that is because each one will be able to deliver about 50 kilowatt, right? And so you got two, that you got 100 kilowatt service.
Yeah.
4, you got 200 kilowatt service. And for those watching, that's like the equivalent of like 50 homes or something, right? If you're doing it's like a neighborhood worth of electricity that you have to do in a small site. I mean, it doesn't take much to put 10 cars. Right?
No, I mean, but it's expensive. You're looking at excavating. You're looking at construction. Civil work, planning. Sometimes you have to do road closures. Safety checks. Everything that's included in those massive DC fast, like the Electrify America sites. A lot of people look at those sites and they're like, oh wait, man, those, depending on the stations and the switch gears and the transformers and the installation and the conduit and the wires. I mean, these are $750,000, maybe even $1 million per site.
Wow.
Easy.
Is there money to be made in those?
We're following EVgo a lot, and we are looking at some of the use case. I mean, basically, EVgo's model makes money, but only in high utilization areas where those charging stations are constantly being used. But then they're also at the mercy of the utility company during those peak hours. They're getting demand charges, and it's just it's taken away from their profit margins all the way around. So EVgo has done a lot of really interesting stuff to kind of see what they can do to shave some of that those.
Wow, demands. Yeah. So the same critical pricing that we as the public, I mean, they're the public, right? To the utility companies, it's like no difference between a homeowner and a charging station.
It's everyone. It's Tesla, it's EVgo, it's Electrify America, it's all of them. They're all faced with the same problem. Now, most of the time, utility companies, if they're proactive and they're progressive with regards to EVs, they'll have like a fixed rate, or they'll have some sort of pre-planned rate for EVs and charging, so that way they can at least help these companies out there try to increase their profit margins on these.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because we got a notice on the Tesla, and then a couple of days ago where it's like, don't charge. the state is going to an emergency right now. Do not charge right now, right? Yeah. From 3 to 10.
Yeah, something like that.
So it was a weird thing because I've been so busy. I make videos, right? That's what I do mainly. I make videos on YouTube. And setting up the shop is so much work. And I haven't been able to make videos, right? So I'm like itching to get back into it. But I'm like, I can't. I got to do this. I got to take in the inventory. I'm also setting up this thing. But I wanted to, this is like a missed opportunity for me, to talk about this thing that is real. A lot of people tell me why are you messing around with batteries, and why? That's a lot of work. Seems like a big expense. Utilities never goes down. It's reliable. This is all just a waste of time and money. And I'm like, you don't get it. This is a new reality that is coming, and we're starting to see it. The grids are not going to be this reliable moving forward unless something drastic happens. I don't think it's going to happen. Infrastructure is aging. And demand is increasing dramatically, right? Everybody's getting electric cars. This is a good thing, except for the grid. The grid has to charge it.
Well, what you're doing in the battery world, I mean, everything that you're doing, you're complementing exactly what the grid needs. You're doing it on a smaller scale, more of the residential, Powerwall type scale. But
well, I think there's two methods to attacking this, right? One is grid scale. Yeah. Storage, batteries and stuff, which the grids use. By the way, they have batteries, but they're usually just as buffers. They're not really for storage, so that they're usually just for a few minutes here and there. Large solar arrays use batteries as buffers, because if if clouds roll in, all of a sudden your production just dips instantly. So they don't want, the grids don't like that. They want to know that they're gonna have, they want to be, because if they have that kind of demand, because they're always tweaking, like, oh, the demand is here, okay, let's put some over here, let's put some other, and all of a sudden they don't want something drastically happen, right? So they make you put batteries so they can change that drastic peak to a more gradual, because then that gives them time to adjust. But that's only one way to do it. You could also do it a distributed system, and I think that's much more. I don't know which one's gonna win. I think it's gonna be 50-50. I think every homeowner is gonna eventually have a battery in their garage, because there's a lot of benefits to it, right? It's like you gain a little bit of independence from a unreliable future grids. You can save some money because you could literally like just store some solar energy into those batteries. Yeah. And so why not, right? And the battery prices are going down because everything is running on batteries now, and Tesla is putting factories all over the place now. How many gigafactories they have? They're going on 3, right? Don't they have?
Man, if you want to look at, you have Nevada, you have China, with Shanghai, you have Berlin, and now you have Texas.
Yes.
You also have Buffalo, but people aren't calling. I don't know. The Tesla fans, they don't like to call Buffalo a gigafactory, but I think it is. It very much well is.
There's producing batteries there?
I believe they're producing batteries or the solar.
Solar panels, I heard, right? Or solar, whatever. Yeah, that's, batteries are going down. I mean, I have some batteries right now that are like $100 a kilowatt hour. Yeah, and they're reclaimed, they're reused, but like we have a ton of them, so this was unheard just a couple of years ago. I mean, this is what Tesla's paying for them.
Yeah, man. Second Life Batteries Alliance, one of my huge passions. That's why I followed you, was because I saw what you were doing. And then, of course, you have, the battery hookup guys and all of that stuff. So we're really, following you guys. And of course, JB Straubel, I mean, he came up with with redwood materials. There's a lot of stuff going on right now with redwood materials and what they plan on doing with that company. So any type of company that's looking into recycling or repurposing or reusing these lithium-ion batteries, man, it's huge. It absolutely is huge. What I did have a question on was, these stationary storage packs. At what percentage do those have to be capacity-wise before they are, taken out and brought to Second Life Batteries Alliance and brought to like the recycling center? What percentage do you think, utility?
Well, I think depends on the original purpose, right? Like we got 1,000 modules from, like there were ESS, Samsung ESS, right? So energy storage systems. And I think the reason why they removed them is because they were limited by the size of the installation, right? So let's say you have, I don't know, 100 racks. They're all modular, like rack mounted, 19-inch standard rack mountable modules. So they probably have in a facility that has 100 racks, and they're like, we have, like, I don't know, they have whatever 500 kilowatts or whatever, but they need double that now. So they're like, well, we can't expand. It's probably too much. It's just like there's a new model that is more energy dense, and they're like, okay, let's replace these modules. And so those modules, it really didn't matter how far in their life they are. They just don't fit that particular constraint that they have, right? And so they remove 1,000 of those modules.
Wow.
And they sold them to us for like nothing. I mean, it's like a 3.
I know.
It's crazy. It's like 3.3 kilowatt hours. They were all somewhere around 3 kilowatts, 2.7, 3 kilowatt hours, right? So they were like, I don't know, 80%, the original capacity, something like that. So they were used, but they still have some life in them. And because we're buying them for nothing, a bunch of us can make money and still sell them to the public and for very cheap in a module that comes in a ready-to-use thing. You just literally plug it in, put a few connectors, and then you have a 48-volt, thing. And yeah, I mean, we've sold like 700 of those things,
Yeah.
I think 800 now. So there's only like a couple hundred of those left.
That's huge.
So there's a lot of different, right? Now you take the used, for example, the used Nissan Leaf batteries. There's a local company here in LA that is literally has a contract, and they have like warehouses full of them.
Wow.
Now those are usually just beat to hell. I mean, they're like down to 60% of the original capacity. Now I'm like, is it worth it? I don't know. If the price is right, I guess, right? But around that time, the batteries start doing weird stuff because they start dying, essentially.
Okay.
And so it requires a lot of maintenance, right? So if you're doing a large installation and you're like, well, I only got like 2 years before I'm going to have to replace every single one of these modules, then maybe it doesn't make sense, right? Unless you're getting it for like almost free, right? So there's different scenarios.
Gotcha.
And I think there's different cells, and it depends who you are. It depends what you're doing, I think, right? There's a lot of people that totally put down this whole DIY thing. You're like, why are you breaking cells and remounting them and remaking packs? That seems like a wasted time. And I'm like, there's like millions of us that have more time than money, and we want to do this thing, and we want to use it as a small UPS or a thing, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird when people are like, yeah, you're wasting your time. Like, there's millions of us, literally, there's that are super frugal and are gonna do stuff on the cheap. Like, maybe it's hard as a business model to cater to those people or whatever, but there's a few of us like me that cater to them,
There's always, yeah.
Yeah. And, I understand both sides because I'm almost there. I'm like, when people call me about batteries, I'm like, how many truckloads do you have? Because I'm not doing it for like 1 or 2 pallets anymore. Like, it's too much work. Like, what do? I make a thing. I figure out. I test them. Use it. I'm like, and then that's it. They're gone. I'm like, nah, come on. I need batteries that you have enough so that when I make a video, if I do a good job with the video, it's going to keep getting views. It's not sold out. I don't want to make videos with half my videos are batteries that are sold out. So it's like kind of weird. Which tells me that this is a market that is growing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, Elon, I don't look at Elon as I look at him as a battery baron. I mean, that's it. That's everything he does for, I mean, of course you got SpaceX and everything else, but mainly it's just produce more batteries. He's a battery baron. The cars handle the batteries, put more batteries in the battery packs, and everything else that complements that. But yeah, the batteries are the key. So yeah, really interested to see what's going to happen with the battery investor day. So,
yes, I can't wait for that.
what are you thinking?
I don't know. I am literally, I don't know. I have zero idea. I know that more likely than not, I don't know. It's Elon. I don't know. I wanna believe so bad that the next battery is coming. The next battery that everyone's been predicting, and but because it's literally been 20 years since people have been predicting the next battery, I'm like, yeah, no, it's not. That's not gonna be a thing. It's gonna be some small incremental thing. But if that was the case, I don't think that he would have a battery day, right? Yeah. If it was some incremental improvement on the battery chemistry, safety, density.
We see him doing, I mean, it's either like the rule of 3 or it's order of magnitude better than something, right? It's an order of magnitude decrease in something or increase in something, but also if you're going to produce something, it has to have like 3 benefits to that one thing. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't anticipate him just announcing one improvement, multiple improvements to be able to shed light on that.
Yeah. So like he's been improving battery technology, but not as much as people like to say he has. Like, I've said a couple of times that like I see all these videos on YouTube where people are like, Tesla has been leading the charge. They've improved, battery capacity by 30% in the last 5, 10 years, 7 years. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, the same cells on the Model S's coming out right now are the same cells that were 7 years ago. Like, there's not that much improvement. There's incremental improvements, but it doesn't. It doesn't even go 10%. I don't think, right? Even the 2170s, they are better, more energy dense, but they're also bigger. So when you take that into account, they're like 5% better energy density. You know what I mean? Like, I think life, probably they've increased that, right? So cycle life.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe how he's gonna do the 1,000,000 mile.
Yeah.
I think it's life, but I don't think it's energy density. It almost seems like he's not after energy density, increasing energy density, because it doesn't make sense. Like right now you can put 300 miles in a car of range. Who needs more than that? Nobody needs that. If the infrastructure to charge is widespread, why do you need more than 300? Why do you need to carry all that energy potential in your car? It's actually dangerous.
That's what I talk to a lot of my clients, and I mean, and that's kind of, they want to maximize their onboard charger on their car. They, if the car can charge in 4 hours, they want to do 100 amps to the car, and they charges in 4 hours. But we always say, look, if the car is going to sleep for 12 hours, and it's very rare that you're actually like pushing the car into the driveway because you have 0 miles, like that's not going to happen, right? So depending on where your battery capacity is, when you pull up and you start charging, the car is going to sit there for 12 hours while you plug in, right? And so it doesn't really matter if it charges in 2 hours or 6 hours. She's sleeping for 12 hours. So what matters is that you wake up the next morning and your car is charged, right? And so, as far as, the amount of I guess, power that you have to put in these cars, everybody wants the top of the line, the full throttle. And it's like, it depends on your driving. It depends on how much you drive. It depends on your use case around that. But I do see that if he can do, I mean, he's a manufacturing genius. I mean, his engineering prowess is uncomparable. So if he starts to figure out a way to manufacture the batteries faster, better, cheaper, then maybe some electrochemical component of the battery to make it better. And then, like you said, the life cycling around that, if he's able to get that 1,000,000 mile battery out of it, it'll definitely be huge boost to what Tesla's able to bring to the table. Because you're not only putting that in your vehicles, you're putting that in the stationary storage packs, the mega packs, the Powerwalls. You're putting it in everything. We started doing Powerwalls, I'd say about a year ago, and we've had so many Powerwall requests now. We're putting in so many Powerwalls in so many houses all across the nation. It's exciting to see that people are actually they're putting these things inside their homes. Really.
Have you ever installed another commercially available battery system in a home?
No. I mean, we've seen Sonnen batteries. I've seen a couple of those, but just the Powerwall.
Seen them out and installed, or just
we partner up with a local solar company that did a couple of those installs, and we were fascinated with it, and so we went over there and just kind of,
because I'm like, people ask me all the time, right? I'm like, is there like any other battery? And I'm like, yes, there's a ton of them.
Yeah,
I just don't think they actually exist. I mean, like they exist as a product. I just don't think anyone is installing them. Like all you hear is Tesla. It's like Tesla Powerwalls, Tesla, right? And even those, that's a tiny amount of installations, right? I mean, how many have you done compared to like here in California? Like every other house has solar.
Yeah.
But I've never seen. I know one guy that's got Powerwalls, that has like Tesla Powerwalls in there. Like, that's it.
Does he have like 2 or 6?
He's got 2, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he's got 2 of them. And he loves them. Of course. Why wouldn't you? They're like the smartest battery out there, right? It's just a battery in a box, and it's got a nice little
software integration.
Software.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the thing that makes it amazing. That's right. It's literally just a battery in a box. Like, it's no different than what we're making over here. Like, my DIY thing, right? Yeah. But, yeah, it's just a weird thing. I think that needs to change. Because they can't make them fast enough, right? I think.
No, I've heard recently they've had a slowdown on their battery production. With I guess as far as concerning the Powerwall, but yeah, I mean we're running into problems right now with the Gen 3 wall connector right now with Tesla. They've slowed down a little bit of their. I guess they've had some software problems or whatnot, and so we've seen that these stations. Everyone's out of the stations. We have a couple left in our inventory, but we have 14 offices across the satellite offices across the nation. We've completely depleted all of our inventory, all of our stock of those stations, and everyone's wanting them because they're still getting their Teslas delivered. And they're still, but Tesla, they're sold out on the website. You could probably find one. They're going for like $1,300 on eBay. When they're
the Gen 3 charging station, the one that you installed, that one.
Yeah, right there.
That's the one that has glass, or that's the one that's the new one.
Yeah. Have you cracked open one of these? The new one basically weighs 1 pound. The heaviest thing on it is the glass face. So like the second generation, that one weighed like 3.5 pounds, the weight of the unit, but the plastic cover was ounces. And so it's interesting to see how they just completely flop. The unit is 1 pound. It's so light, but the actual glass plate on it is the heaviest thing on the.
I haven't. So.
Pretty sweet.
Have you taken apart?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Oh.
I got one right here. Yeah. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh wow! Look at that.
Yeah. So I mean, they're having problems, and so. Basically, I crack them open and I try to figure out what the problem is, and most of the time we're figuring out that it's a software related issue.
Oh, really? So they're having problems with the new one, not the old one, the new one.
Yeah, that's the new one. I mean, I got the old one here. I got them all on my desk. I'm always tinkering with them, stuff like that.
Wow. And those are rated for what? 30 amps, 40 amps,
60 amps for the Gen 3.
60?
Yeah, the Gen 2s, they go all the way up to 100 amps.
Oh, wow.
If you have 2 Teslas and you can do the power share feature, people want that Gen 2 because they want to split that power, plug in one, both of them, 50 amps a piece, all that stuff. But the Generation 3 one, they do have some Wi-Fi, some high definition software inside that unit. So it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do. But I think right now they're trying to fix that problem with them. They're just having some software problems with these stations. So we're telling everyone to if you have the station set at 60, cut it in half to 30 amps, which is 24 amps continuous to the car. So go inside your car and on the charging dashboard, turn down your charging dial to 24 amps, and hopefully that kind of fixes the issue.
Oh, no way! So they're really compromised. They're having issues.
Yeah, I mean, normally, it's Teslas. They take those two, the NEMA 1450 or the Tesla wall connector, right? So, it depends. If you have the wall connector and it's giving you problems, I would definitely go into it and put it on your your charging dashboard. Crank that bad boy down to like 24. Even though it's set for 48 amps continuous, just crank it down to the car. Let the car know, hey, I only want to draw 24. You should be fine, and until Tesla releases some sort of update, maybe to fix it.
Oh, I see. Wow. Yeah, and it's an expensive unit to be having problems with it. Well, that's okay. Tesla people have money. Actually, no, Tesla people don't have money anymore. It used to be. They used to be rich people only that had Teslas, but not anymore. Now everybody has got Teslas now.
Yeah, I mean, look, Tesla's really fast at how fast they're able to fix these problems. We've seen, a few issues here and there, and literally they'll release an update and it's fixed. No problem, right? That's the continuous improvement that those guys have. We're super stoked about. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't get to use my Tesla very much because it's my wife, right? My wife drives it. And so, yeah, I'm like, I kind of want to pay it off because the new one is the Model Y, right? And that's supposed to be so much more efficient and bigger, and I mean, it's got the latest stuff in there, and I'm like, but at the same time, I have the Rivians coming.
I know. I got my Rivian. I got my Rivian mug right here.
Hey, I didn't get one of those. What happened?
The fully charged live show. Those guys were over there.
They didn't give me one. How dare they?
We're
We're gonna have to call them. I'm gonna have to give them a bad review when the car comes out. No. So I have two reservations on those. So
yeah,
I'm like,
man, beautiful truck, man. I mean, they're putting out videos, once a week or so now. I'm sure you've seen the latest, but I'm super excited, man. We can't wait for that truck to come out. So
yeah, especially in Texas,
yeah.
it needs those trucks. Will it come out? What do you think? Is it gonna come out when they said it's gonna come out? They said June and July, or July August, right? I think it's July August. I think they said
next year. I'm pretty sure he's gonna meet. I mean, their CEO is I mean, he's aggressive, and I think some of the stuff that they're doing with the talent that they have. The one thing about Rivian that I really like is that they're not going to put out an ordinary product. They're going to test that truck. They're going to make it the best ever, and then they're going to be able to put it out. And so, but sometimes that can actually be your Achilles heel. Sometimes that can hurt you because most of the time you just need to get it out. Let's get it out, but those guys, they're 100% about quality, and they're not going to put anything else out there that's doing that. So.
Yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword. I think, because after a certain amount of time, you're tired of waiting for things. Things are moving so quickly that you're like, whatever. Tesla, what? I mean, Rivian, who? Yeah, I mean, I know it takes a long time to develop a car. Like, don't get me wrong, right? Like, I mean, we're converting here cars, and it's like, oh my God, it's so much work, and it takes so long. Now imagine making one from scratch. That's a crazy endeavor, right? But then at the same time, you're like, how many years you been at it? Right? Because those guys been at it for almost like a decade.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, like I said, they're not gonna compromise. They're gonna push the best product that they can out on the market. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we exist. I mean, if you look at Smart Charge America, if you look at every single make and model of every electric vehicle, from the Tesla Roadster in 2008 to, they had 3 different versions of that, and then you had the Nissan Leafs, 2010, 11, 12, 13. Every one of these different versions of these electric cars, they have different onboard chargers, different battery packs, different, and so each time they come up with a different make and model and vehicle and version and generation, we have to know that stuff, because our customers, when they have those vehicles, we have to know everything there is to know about those electric vehicles. So that way we can take, and choose from the 86 different home charging stations they have out there, and we can make sure that we consult and we suggest, hey, customer, this is the top 3 charging stations that fit your mold perfectly for your electric vehicle. And so that continuous, generation updates, all of that stuff, that's mainly the reason why we exist. I wanted to make sure that, it's hard enough for somebody to transition from fossil fuel to electric. You and I, we did it pretty quick. We knew, but just getting, good old boy here in Texas to drop off his F-150 and go pick up a Tesla, that's a hard decision to make. So you want to be able to support those guys. I mean, these people are making that decision. It's nerve-wracking to make that transition, and our goal is we just want to make sure that when it comes to charging, we take all the pain out of it. We're so happy that you chose to go electric. Our job is to make that whole process and installing your charging station just as easy as 1, 2, 3. So, but we're constantly, having to evolve and update all of the past, present, as well as future, electric vehicles that are coming on the market, plus all the different charging stations, the old charging stations, the new charging stations, future charging stations to come, wireless charging. We already know, like, we're going to adapt to wireless charging, in 10, 20 years. That's where it most likely is going to start heading towards. So
you think so?
Everything that we do is designed around that adaptation, to wireless charging.
Yeah. I worry about that because of all the radiation, right? Like you're basically just a transformer, right? And it's one coil's on the floor and the other one's in your car, and then you're inducing, electromagnetic forces, and that's how you're charging.
Yeah.
But you're essentially bringing a giant transformer into your garage, and there's some side effects to that come around.
Yeah, I mean, studying those guys at Y Tri City and Hebo Power's another company that's they started manufacturing their units, I believe, here in Austin. I think those guys are out of New York, but they, that's one of the main concerns. And so when you ask those guys about, hey, what's going on with the radiation and stuff, like they'll tell you, the I don't know, particles per bit million or something, whatever that is, and they'll let you know that it's definitely not what you think. It's I don't want to say it's FUD or scary information, but what radiation could come out of that is so minuscule that it shouldn't even register on some of the stuff that these guys are putting out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. The same thing is said about these phones, right? It's like, oh, these are safe, but these are not safe. There's a lot of radiation, and a lot of people are getting cancer because of these, because we have them right next to us in our pocket, and when you read the fine print and the contracts and stuff, you're like, oh, it's kind of scary. You're like, holy crap, these radios and the radiation that they emit. It's really scary.
Do you think that's why they tell us to turn them off when you're in the plane?
No. I think that's 100% to do with not being distracted. If the plane goes down, they need 100% of your attention, right? To do the things like, here's the door. We just told you how to pull the thing and open the door, So if you're distracted watching a movie, and I've been there, when we're landing, you're just like, whatever, you don't care. She's talking. Oh, it's bumpy. You're like, what? I don't care. I'm focused on my thing, my music, my TV show, my thing. You don't want 300 people that are unresponsive when things are going south, right? I think that is the reason why they do that. It's like, put your thing away, disconnected, so that I have 100% of your attention. Now, with that said, I don't know. Maybe there is, the planes do have a lot of instruments that require, airwaves, right? Radio waves. If you have all these radios, every single one of these is like several radios. This thing has like 4 different radios, and they're pretty powerful. And so you have 300 of these in a confined little area. I don't know. Maybe there is something that happens. You know what I mean? Like,
maybe, yeah.
You would think they would be smart to not use the same, the frequencies that are near. These are 2.5, right? 2.4 megahertz or gigahertz. I don't know. Whatever the bandwidth is for Wi-Fi. But I think that's what it is. I also worry, for example, on the smartphones that they have, the Apple phones, Apple watches. That's why I don't get one. I'm like, do I really want a radio right on my wrist the entire time, 24/7? I'm like, I don't know. I bet we're going to see an incident of high incident of cancer in the wristwatch coming up. Because
it's another thing to charge. I mean, yeah, it's great, but another thing to keep track of and keep charged, so.
Yeah. I mean, I don't need more tech. There's some stuff that kind of attracts me, but definitely that having a radio right up against my skin scares me. Yeah. Right, I already have one. It's in my crotch right now. It's like it lives in my pocket, 6 inches away from your crotch. Come on, do you wanna? I don't know. It's kind of weird to worry about that stuff, right? But definitely technology. It's a double-edged sword, right? It's exciting to have electric cars and stuff. It's opening up a bunch of new businesses and careers.
Yeah, I mean, if you look, I started in 2007. We had our first install in 2009. I helped a friend of mine who was doing a conversion on a Miata, and then a Jeep was the second one, and then I got my hands on 2 Roadster installs But yeah, man, it took a long time for us to snowball into what we're doing now. And I mean, there's no way I would be where I'm at without my team. I mean, these guys, I'm just a pencil pusher. They're doing all the work, right? So, as far as, man, as far as where we're at, I mean, if you're looking, we're in 15 cities right now across the U.S. We're hoping to get into 20 cities right now.
Wow.
We have everything set in those cities. We're just waiting on licensing. Because when you're dealing with opening up cities in new states, you have to deal with the city licensing, the Secretary of State, the comptroller's office in each one of those states. You have to take care of all that stuff before you actually open up shop in those. So our goal was to be in the top 20 EV friendly cities across America by 2020. So, and that's all we're doing. We're trying to essentially make whoever is making that decision to transition from fossil fuel to electric, and they're thinking about going, with the electric cars. We want to make that transition a lot easier by putting it in their charging station, not only in their home, but also complementing, businesses out there and taking care of the existing charging stations in the wild, making sure those always are up and running. I mean, from the flack that EVs, these charging stations get out in the wild, and half of them don't work, and all of this stuff. So our goal is to basically just push all of that down. I mean, we're operating at a 98% uptime right now. Uptime is something that industries use to measure, if I have 1,000 charging stations out in the wild, I have 980 working, at all times, and I may have 20 that are, every now and then they'll have problems and we'll go out there and troubleshoot. But, overall, you're looking at a 98 to 99% uptime. That's where you want to be if you own 1,000 charging stations in the wild. So,
do you also manage some of them for clients or owners or stuff, or you're just installing?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to, we have design and consulting, and we have permits and planning. If you have a large project and you need us to come in and draw up blueprints and take care of the permits and planning review and all that stuff, we can take care of that. Purchasing the charging station as well as installation. But another thing that we offer after the fact, after we put them in, is servicing the charging stations, making sure we're going out there maybe quarterly or semi-annually or even once a year. And so I love servicing them because I like to make sure that electric vehicle drivers out there, they shouldn't have to worry. It's hard enough making a long distance trip in an electric vehicle, with regards to the charging time and trying to find the cars and planning the route and everything. If you get to one of those and it's not working, that's disastrous for the industry. And so I don't even want to come close to that. And unfortunately the industry's gotten a bad rap over the past few years, and that's our main goal, is to try to, suffocate that and repair that stigma that's in everyone's,
Yeah, definitely is not a good feeling when you're.
Have you been to one though? Have you been to a charging station and it was down and you needed to charge?
Yeah, yes, and I rarely ever use public stations.
Yeah.
Because I guess I'm a weirdo. Yeah, it's such a I'm not a good case, right? Like for the average user, because I literally work and live like less than a quarter mile away from both places.
Oh yeah.
And I have this EV that it's DIY, and so I don't charge it. I do travel every once in a while, but it's always like for leisure kind of thing. I don't commute, essentially, right? So it's just a weird thing. It's like I'm like, electric cars are perfect for me. Like I literally charge that once every like 2-3 weeks, whenever I'm like, so much that right now all my equipment for my instrumentational equipment is down. And I don't even care. I'm flying blind. I don't know if I have charge in the batteries. I don't know. Even the little thing they used to tell me, all the specs, all the things for the motor system, the RPMs, and none of that stuff is working right now. And I'm like, whatever. I don't care. I get on it and I'm like, how fast does this accelerate? Oh, I think I'm low. I'm gonna charge it. Has it been 3 weeks? I think it's been like 3 weeks now. Okay, let me charge it.
That's one way to do it. I drive a little 2013 Nissan Leaf every day to work, man, and I think it gets. Man, a good day, I'm at like 55-mile range on a full. I'm missing 3 bars. Hell, I might be missing 4. I haven't checked, but I'll let it go down. And I know this is bad. I know you're gonna get really upset at me. I'll let it go. Here's the ironic part. I run an electric car charging installation company, and I hate plugging in. I can't stand it. It's the most inconvenient thing for me ever because I've been doing it for so long. You've been doing it for so long. We hate plugging in, right?
Yeah, I don't.
And I'll run from 55 or whatever I'm getting that day, and I'll literally the lights will start blinking on the Leaf. And I've actually ran it into turtle mode. I don't know if you've ever heard of turtle mode
Yes.
on the Leaf. Yeah.
Yes.
I go into that mode at least once a month.
Really?
It's fun, but
Yeah,
I mean,
you're-
I drive, 8 miles to and from work, so kind of like yourself. So
Oh yeah, so you got a short commute. Yeah.
very short commute. So I know if it's blinking, hey, I got a reserve in there. But I pushed her, and she's never failed me. She's never let me down.
Oh really? No, I've driven my bus to where it won't roll anymore, several times, and for different reasons, right? All stupid, obviously. One of them was the only one I think that I have is I left it without charging so long that my meter was off. So my meter said it still had half a battery, but it didn't. It only had like a quarter battery, right? And so then I'm driving around, but stupid me, I also have the voltage. I used to have a voltage thing, right? So I could have been like, wait a minute, that's not half, it's not a nominal anymore. That's, but I absolutely was not paying attention. And so when I'm driving and it doesn't want to roll anymore, I'm like, what is going on here? And I look up, I'm like, whoa, 80 volts. That's super low. That's like really low. Well, I'm out of battery, you know what I mean? Like, so several times that happened, and the beauty about this battery being a Tesla battery and that it's all super well balanced and matched is that you don't lose any batteries. You go down to like 1 volt per cell or whatever, and they just recover real nice because there's some degradation that happens, right? Because if you're running them kind of hard down there, but these cars are not. I mean, I have a small system. It's not like even your Leaf pulls more power. I think your Leaf has like 150 kilowatt motor.
I believe so. I'm at 6.6 on the onboard charger. I got the 2013, so the 2010, 11, and 12, they had the 3.3 onboard charger, KW.
Oh yeah.
2013, that's when they upgraded to the 6.6.
You have a fast charger in there.
Yeah, and then the CHAdeMO, of course.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Everyone has a CHAdeMO. And every Leaf.
Yeah, every Leaf, every Kia, and so it was interesting back between 2010 to 2015, CHAdeMO ruled the waves. I mean, when it came to public charging, CHAdeMO, there was 1,500 CHAdeMO connectors across the U.S. and maybe only 200 CCS, and now it's completely flopped. And that's just because the manufacturers are doing.
Oh, is that what it is? I haven't been paying attention. So now there's the CCS is winning. Yeah. That's what the Rivian's gonna have, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, I see. Is that a better charging infrastructure connection?
Yeah, it's better. I mean, look at Electrify America. You'll see, you go to a standard station, site, and you'll have 10 charging stations. Well, you'll have 9 CCS stations and 1 little CHAdeMO station all the way in the corner. So they've already known where the industry's going. They see where the manufacturers are putting these CCS, not only in Europe but also in America. Usually CHAdeMO, that's from Japanese and Chinese manufacturers. They're the ones that are using the CHAdeMO, which of course bi-directional vehicle grid capabilities in there. But I'm worried that CCS, they're not able to do vehicle to grid just yet, and so it'll be interesting to see if they come out with some means of being able to do it through that.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, it is software, right? There's no Well, maybe some hardware. I don't know. Who knows how they're
Sometimes on
charging?
the hardware in the car, you have to have the hardware in the car too. So.
Yeah. Well, shouldn't be hard.
No.
But if it's not there, if it's a thing that they have to change, like for example, remember that story that came out a month ago, 2 months ago, or whatever, where they're saying that Teslas now have the ability to do bi-directional.
Yeah, but it was wrong because
It was wrong.
yeah, what was it? Man,
It's they have all the chargers have a bridge rectifier,
that's correct.
which is non-directional, right? It's basically a bunch of diodes, and
Diodes. That's
yeah,
right.
it's diodes. It's 4 diodes in a square thing. So you literally can't. You'd have to change those components in every charger. And it's not hard. It's very simple to do. You just, but it's not. It's actually very hard because now those cars are out there in the field, and you basically have to replace every single charger on every Model 3 that's ever sold and every Model S that is ever sold. That's not an easy thing to do.
No, not at all.
It's not going to happen. So, nope. People.
Although Tesla announcing their virtual power plant, and they're registering for utility license and stuff like that, and you're seeing the stuff that they're doing with the Powerwall. If they had the means of bi-directional charging for their vehicles, they would be able to access that feature with their, maybe through their new Gen 3, but nothing in the Gen 3 wall connectors show anything with regards to that bi-directional charge as well. So
it's not here. Like it's not in the near future because obviously it's not in their current components, right? On the hardware. So it's weird because they would have to change all the hardware on all the cars, right? So basically it would be from cars starting now, but nothing's back, which is kind of a weird thing.
Hey, you got your Model 3. Did you buy it with the full self-driving yet?
No, I was like, I'm not going to spend that much money on a thing that I can't use. I was like, Elon says a lot of things, and he never lies, but he's never right on the timeline, right? And sure enough, like here we are.
Yeah, I think he's going to come out. You're seeing stuff saying 6 to 9 months maybe. That they release it, but still, even after he releases it and he's proven it's here, you still have to convince the regulators, and so
still illegal.
The amount of data that you need to be able to present regulators to let them know that, hey, look, if you do this, it's this many deaths. If you do this, it's clearly an order of magnitude safer if you do this. That's really how long that's going to take. I have no idea. So
yeah. Yeah, for me it didn't make sense because I was literally buying an expensive car, and I wasn't getting it with any bells and whistles. Like it was everything. I got a black one because it didn't cost me an extra $1,000. I didn't get upgraded wheels. I didn't get the extra interior with the subwoofer and the thing. I'm like, I'm not gonna pay at that time. What it was, $5,000? I think it was $5,000 or $6,000. For a feature that literally I wasn't going to be able to use.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave you small little things like summons, right? The summons would have been cool. But I'm like, $5,000 feature, I don't know. It's too much, right? I'll wait till it's here. Although it's going to be way more, I guess, right?
He's going up on it almost every quarter. It seems
every quarter is going up.
Towards the end of the quarter, he'll make the announcement, and then at the end of the quarter, he'll bump it up. So a little enticing.
Maybe
there.
I think this Model 3 is not the car that I plan on keeping for a while. Like, right? I mean, we've had it for a year now, I think. So I'm really eyeing a Model Y right now.
Yeah, you saw Jack Richard. I mean, he picked up his Model Y. It's the greatest thing he's ever driven.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm actually going up there to see him next month.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll drive up to Missouri and go see him. And that's the godfather of EVs. I have to go see him.
Yeah.
So,
I haven't
some interactions with him a while back, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't end that well because he's such a grouchy old man. But I mean, yeah, he preached that thing, and he didn't like us. I remember he sent us an email predicting that we would be forgotten, and we were like me and Michael. He just hated us. He's like, you guys are. What did he say? That we were going to be forgotten by history. That nobody would deal. Well, we were, and that he was so angry, and of course he was so eloquent because he writes. So it was like a 3-page essay that he wrote.
It really makes you think about the insult. It's like, man, did I just get insulted or what was that?
Yeah. But is he still? I haven't checked for a while. Is he still putting out videos or not really? Because he kind of got back into it.
He used to crank them out, maybe twice a week. And since then he's gotten some illnesses. But I think he's still cranking them out maybe once every other week now.
Oh, okay.
Twice a month. So his frequency slowed down, but he's still cranking them out. He's still putting out videos.
Yeah, and I know that he's still doing stuff, right? I just saw the Now You Know Rickard. Yeah, why not? Let's do it. He says if we wanna book him to be in the podcast. I'm like, hey, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Why not? I just saw a Now You Know video where those guys have a viewer whatever submissions, and a guy that I met is doing some project in some island, and they're using one like a Model 3.
Out in Costa Rica or no, Bahamas.
You know what's so weird? That guy went around and sent emails to everyone. It's like, hey, you want to help me, build a solar system out there? And I remember I was like, that's tempting. I want to go to a private island in the middle of the Caribbean, I'm like, and then I just sat and I'm like, no, it doesn't make sense for me. I'm way too busy. And so I guess that guy picked it up and he put a Model 3 battery with one of his controllers, right? And he talks a little bit about that. And so I'm like, oh, yeah, old Rickard's still pumping out those things.
Yeah, man.
He figured out the protocols.
On his last video, he had like a time-lapse video of that installation in the Bahamas where the guy was doing it. And then I believe the guy had a segment, like a special little segment on Jesse and Zach's Now You Know. A little 3-minute, and I think that's the one you saw.
That's the one I saw, yeah.
So yeah, but on Jack's last episode, I believe, or the one prior, he has a time-lapse video of the entire thing. I guess the guy sent that to Jack, in thanking him for the battery pack.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, Jack is the one that's figured that out, right? He sells that little. I mean, it's essentially like an ECU that controls the battery, and you can literally use the entire battery of a Model S, Model 3. And I think it might even be able to do like individual modules too. So, that's about as cool as it gets when it comes to implementing a model, like a BMS on those. Right now, literally, what I was doing earlier, today, it was doing custom cables so we can use a third-party BMS on those Model S battery modules for our little conversion that we're doing here. So that's a lot of work that I wouldn't have to do if I just use his thing.
Yeah.
Right? But we kind of have to do because we're running a low-voltage system. It's not, the 400-volt thing. Rickard is doing that stuff because he's good at coding. You know what I mean? Like he understands all that stuff. So that's what you need.
Yeah, he's phenomenal, man. I mean, I've been following him just as long as I've been following, Michael out in EV West. I don't know how much longer he's got with us, and so I wanted to make it a point to go down there and just
go check him out.
We appreciate him and everything, and just kind of get a chance to see the shop and what he's working on. So. I mean, the guy's a genius. He's the godfather of EVs, man. That's what I call him. Yeah,
I mean, he was doing it when no one else was doing it. He was pushing videos, and he's what did he say? His early mission was to have 100,000 people join the army, right, and build all building cars, DIY conversions in their garage.
Yeah, I don't know. Military background. So.
Yeah, I don't know how close he got to that, but I think there's a lot of people. I mean, every single person that's ever been involved in a converting cars has watched this thing at one point or another, and bought parts from him probably.
Oh yeah.
And yeah.
He's
That's
still
cool.
going.
He's still out there. What are you doing in Missouri? You're doing installation out there?
No, I'm just gonna drive up. I have a Model S. 2014. That was before any of the autopilot and stuff. So I'm just gonna drive her up there and.
Yeah, but that was with the twin chargers probably.
No, I only got the single charger. I was gonna put the twin charger in, but I ended up installing one of the more wealthier clients here in Austin. He had 4 Teslas, and I was putting another wall connector in his unit, and he wanted to. He was getting the best, biggest brand new Tesla with all the new technology, and he had this one. So he was, I gave him a deal on the charging station and installation. He gave me a good deal on the price of a used Model S. So couldn't pass. Wasn't in my future, but the wife drives it, of course. So
that's what it ends up happening.
He drives it.
Yeah. Wow. Is there a Tesla that has the autonomous capabilities and still had the dual charger onboard charger?
Ooh,
or no?
I don't know about that one. That's a good question.
I think those changes happen differently, right? Like
too far, yeah.
Yeah, I think they were kind of far. I think they stopped having the twin chargers, and then the autonomous was a while after, so there's never a cross. But you know what? We could make it happen.
There you go. Next project.
Next project. I don't know. I'm future proofing my thing. I want to make. I wanted to make like money somehow, without me having to like work every day. And I'm like, what can I do? Right? I'm like, it has to be fun and it has to be good, meaningful. So then that's why I got all these buses, and I'm like, I'm gonna convert them and I'm gonna rent them, right? Because I know how to do that. I'll have fun converting them, and then I'll just make money renting them. I'll take them to Hawaii because I love Hawaii, and and so that's the plan. But it's quite of an ambitious plan. Like converting cars is not easy, especially those things cost a lot of money. And I needed a facility sort of like this to work on them, and just setting this place up is taken like, I think I'm like almost 6 months. I moved in March, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna help me crank out so many videos, and like, where are the videos? I'm still setting this place up. It just takes so long. So that's the plan, anyways. I don't know, how long it's gonna take me, but anything worthwhile, I guess it's hard, right? So.
Well, our satellite office out in Los Angeles is in Costa Mesa, so
Costa Mesa.
We plan on heading out there here, possibly in I would say October or November. We got some pretty big projects going on out in California, and so when I'm down there, man, I'm going to come and visit you and Michael and come see me, man. I definitely want to see what you guys are interested in doing out there. So.
How big is your crew now? So you're saying you're almost in 20 cities?
Yeah, almost in 20 cities. I mean, when we set up satellite offices, we usually have a team of maybe one master electrician, maybe 2 helpers. But all of our lead inflow, they come into our headquarters here in Austin, Texas, and that's where we do the the research, the estimating, the design, the sales, and then once we lock it in, we send it out to those cities, and those cities basically they see it on the calendar and they go out there and they do the install. So everything is done here in Austin, Texas, headquarters wise. We did that because we wanted to basically kind of control the quality of customer service and preserve that. And then our technicians, they just worry about the charging stations and the installations and customer service, that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean it's difficult. Yeah, I'm having we train master electricians to know everything. They know everything there is to know about electric, but they don't know that much about electric cars or charging stations. So we have to come in and kind of show them, teach them a little bit, coach them up, and get them really familiar with what it is that they're doing. And so that's one of the hardest parts about opening up the site is just the training, because these guys are they know their electricity, but they may not know all the nuances behind the electric vehicles and the charging stations. So
Yeah.
we always tell our customers, like, look, this is not something that's like a normal, appliance in your house. I mean, you're going to be pulling it's going to be pulling literally the largest load factor in your house. It is the highest power factor inside the home when it's charging, of course. And so, but it's something that you have to specialize in this for us, because, dude, if the charging station goes down, you can't drive. I mean, you can plug into your 110 outlet, but it's going to take you like 86 hours to charge if you have a Tesla. I mean,
Yes.
So for us, if you can't charge, you can't drive. So like, by us just focusing on just electric car charging, if something does happen, we're able to respond to the customer within minutes, and get out there within hours. Whereas, if you have an electric firm that just does this on the side, that priority, that sense of urgency may not be there, and you might not be able to get that same quality, and care. So it is something that qualified electricians can do. Most of the time with these electric vehicle owners, they're pretty savvy. They know their stuff. They know everything there is to know about the electric vehicle, but they may not know everything about the charging station. So we come in and we kind of coach them up and show them a couple tricks here and there. And that's all we're doing, is we're just trying to make that transition easy and comfortable. In my opinion, I mean, look, if you transition from fossil fuel to electric, and that charging station installation experience that you had in your home is seamless and it was easy, and literally for us, I mean, we're doing like 26 things on the back end, all the red tape, the minutia, everything that's involved, but you don't see any of that. You're just requesting us to come out, you select what charger, and then you pick a day for the install. And we try to make it that easy. So by us making it easy and comfortable, hopefully it makes that transition a lot better for that customer in their mind. And then they tell their friend, right? And they and it promotes the advent of electric vehicles. That's what we're doing, so.
How do you find or how do customers find you? Like, where are you?
Mainly Google searches. I mean, on Tesla's website, for instance, if you buy a Tesla and we're inside your city, depending on the ranking and where we're ranking on that list, Smart Charge America, sometimes Tesla's got they're all like alphabetical order. So I'm Smart Charge. So I'm all the way at the bottom because I'm in the S's. I didn't name my company AAA Charge, and so most of the time when you buy a Tesla and you're in one of those cities, Tesla will send you their preferred installer list.
I see.
We're inside that, and then you have a bunch of electrical companies, and then you'll see Smart Charge America. And so most of the time, sometimes these customers, they're calling these electrical firms and they're busy, or they'll get out to them later on in 2 days or something. Our process is digital, so you basically just go online, you fill out a form, takes you about 2 minutes, you upload a few photos of your garage and of your electric panel. So what we're trying to see if you have enough space and capacity inside your panel to be able to add the charger, right? Those are the two main things you have to look at.
Yeah, because you have to put a big breaker in there. It's like a 2-gang, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's it. And there's some tricks that we can do, even if it is full. There's some tricks that we can do, a little surgery inside the panel. But by the customer taking a picture of the garage and of the panel, we can figure out from Google Earth satellite imagery, kind of a 365-degree view of the installation, like the scope of work, and we can give them a pretty 99% accurate estimate of, hey, this is what it's going to cost to get your charging station, that circuit from your panel to the mounting point of the charging station.
Yeah.
So we also
because there's a difference, right? Like if the panel's right there and your car's right here, it's like a no-brainer. But if your panel's on the other side of your property,
it's going to be rough.
It's because you need a thick gauge wire and conduit to get from your service panel to your charging station.
That's correct. Now, if it goes, mainly, I would say 125 feet. Let's say it goes more than 125 feet for that run, you have to increase the size of your electric wire.
Yeah.
To be able to pass through. And these electric vehicles, they're very sensitive to voltage drop. And so if you don't account for that in the wire, you're going to make that run, they're going to plug in, and the car's going to act up. And especially with the Teslas, they're extremely sensitive to that. So you have to be mindful of most of this stuff. And if a regular electrician that's coming in, yes, he's qualified to do the actual installation, but he may not know those things. He may not understand
Yeah.
the voltage.
Yeah, I mean, oh, you want a 220 plug way out here? Okay, I'll just run whatever, He'll run 12 gauge wire or something. You're like, no, we need 40 amps. We need 50 amps out here.
We're usually running number 6, number 3 sometimes.
Wow. That's thick wire, by the way. And that's expensive stuff. Like what you're talking about, $1,000 of cable to run sometimes, right? Or $2,000 of cable, whatever.
Easy.
Yeah. I see. So you use all those tools to be able to tell the customer and give them.
We're driving down the price of the install. That's our main point.
Yeah.
Utilizing technology, and I mean, look, it saves us the carbon footprint of me having to send a guy out there, inconvenience you, and then he looks at your panel and like, all right, I'm driving back to the shop, and then I'll be back to do the install. Like that whole trip is avoided. So not only am I saving time, I'm also offsetting our carbon footprint, and we're just utilizing technology in a smarter way, right? By that end, we're driving down the cost, and we usually tell our customers, I mean, what's the question that you always get, right? How much is it going to cost for me to install my electric car charger? When they buy their car, and so, I always tell the customer you're like from a range $400 to maybe $1,600, maybe I'd say $400 to $1,400. You're going to range with it. 90% standard deviation, you're going to fall within that range. You could be a little less, could be a little more. I don't know how close you are to the electric panel and stuff like that. But usually you're going to fall within that range. And so I always try to tell my clients, like, look, when you're buying an electric car, budget 3% of the car's value for your home charger. You should be good with 3% if you can budget that. That's the secret number.
3%. Okay.
3%. I mean, look, if you buy a $100,000 Tesla, that Tesla's going to need to pull a lot more power. So I'm going to need to run a lot thicker wire, all of that stuff. And so usually, those homes are a lot larger. The electric panel is, on the other side of the house. And so, but usually, a cheaper car, let's say a Chevy Bolt, 3% of, $30,000, it's, $1,000 install, $900 install. So usually around 3%, is kind of a safe spot when you're budgeting. If you're looking at your pros and cons and your budget analysis on whether or not you should buy an electric car or not, but it could be a little less, of course. But it's very rare that it's more than 3%.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know that my buddy that installed the Powerwalls, he had to pay a bunch of money to run cabling because the panel, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to have your critical load backup panel,
and the panel was over there, and the garage was over here, and he wanted to put it there, and he's like, is it really like that much? And I'm like, yeah, dude, go price the cable. It's like cable's expensive, conduit's expensive, then labor, you got to run on stuff and bend it and, attach it up there. And, it becomes like a full project, where like, I just run this cable. If you were to be able to put it right next to it, no big deal. It's like, a 3-foot cable that you have to run there. Even if it's like a thick cable, it's not going to be a lot, right? But yeah, when it's 100 feet.
That cable, if you want to look at hard costs, taxes, shipping, handling, that cable comes out to be about $5 to $6 a foot.
Wow. Anything that's 6 and below, 6 and 3.
That's like 3-2, that's like 2-3 copper Romex.
Okay.
That's if you're running, like, if you're having to pull 100 amps from your main panel that's 200 amps, you're having to pull to a 100 amp panel and do your critical load backup and everything else like that. It's about $5 to $6 a foot.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Yeah, and you need that. I mean, I think most people don't realize the amount of energy that it takes. I'm always thinking of ways of exemplifying or making it easy for people to understand how big of a battery we're dealing with. Like it's like, what does a kilowatt hour mean? I don't know. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything to most people, and then back in the day the examples were like, well, 100-watt bulb running an hour or whatever. You're like, nobody knows what 100 light bulb, 100-watt light bulb means anymore. Like, no, none of us are using that anymore.
No, we try to, like, when it comes to, like, you and I know volts, we know amps, we know kilowatts, but our customers don't know this stuff. They literally, they barely know, that much about the electric vehicle. Well, I would say, before, between 2010 and 2018, 17, those electric vehicle buyers, they knew everything there was to know about that vehicle.
Yeah, because they were early adopters.
Oh yeah, they would go into the dealership and they would shun the dealership representative. They would know more about the car, and so now the EVs are hitting more of a broader target market, and an audience, and so you may have a customer that they don't know that much about kilowatts and volts and amps. So we try to, our language, we try to use range per hour. That's
range per hour.
I know
miles per hour. Yeah.
Yeah, range per hour, miles per hour. So when they're if we're installing a charger, we try to put it in big blue font. It's 22 miles of range per hour. We call it RPH. So 23 or 32 or 44 RPH. Well, what does that mean? And then we say, well, if you drive, let's say it's 44 RPH on a Model 3. You have a Model 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have the Tesla wall charger in your garage?
No, I have a juice box.
Okay, so you're using the juice box. So
yes,
juice box is running. You have a 48 amp onboard charger. Are you maximizing that?
No, because I have the cheap one, so it maxes out at 32.
So you're pulling 7.7.
Yes, I think so. 32 amps, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think your range per hour, I might be wrong.
It's less than that.
Is it what, 30 miles of range per hour?
You know what? I don't know. I always look at the amperage and never at the miles per hour.
Like the maximum yours can take is 44 miles of range per hour. And I think if you only give her 32, you'll be at 30 miles of range per hour. So people are like, well, what does that mean? Well, sir, if you drive 60 miles a day and you come plug in, your car will be fully charged in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's miles of range per hour for your charge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when they see that, they're like, oh, the light bulb hits, and they're like, oh, this is easy. I get it. I got it.
Yeah.
It's little things like that we try to do to take the confusion out of that. I'll tell you, if you really want to get a guy on the podcast, Matt Tetsky with Chargeway. I don't know if you've heard of him out of Seattle.
No, Chargeway.
Really cool stuff. What he's trying to do is he's trying to, how when you pull up to the gas station, and I can't believe because I haven't pulled up to the gas station in like years. When you pull up to the gas station, there's like leaded, unleaded. It's unleaded. There's 3 different types.
3 different types, yeah.
87, 89, 90.
90, yeah.
I don't know.
91.
But there's 3 different options that you can choose from, right?
Yeah.
So what he's trying to do is he's trying to come up with a color code and a numbering system to take all the kilowatts and amperage and volts out of the equation and put a green 2 on the charging station and the app and a red 3, a green 4, and so that means that if you have a Tesla, then you have all reds on your charging station map, and you know that a 2 will charge a lot slower than a 4. And so depending on where you're going charge, you're just associating a color and a number for that.
That's useful. Like, I guess smart, like Teslas and a lot of these EVSEs are smart, right? I mean, that's all it is. An EVSE is just an extension cord that it's smart. It's got a relay that either turns.
The car is smarter. And so before the cars had the technology, the EVs had to be smart, the EVSEs.
Mm-hmm.
Now that the cars have gotten smarter, the EVs have gotten, I wouldn't say dumber, they've gotten more sophisticated in the ability to be able to share the power and monitor the power and distribute the power. So that way you can have more than one charging station inside of a 200 amp panel. Say for instance, like with ChargePoint, and I think with these new Tesla ones, we can do it as well. But normally if I have a 200 amp panel and I'm installing, let's say 4 Tesla charging stations, I can only install 4 and that's it. It's soaked up the capacity of that panel. I'm done.
Yeah.
Right. But for these new Teslas, I can go in and I can install 20 charging stations, 20 Teslas out of that 200 amp panel, and all of those stations are communicating with one another.
So if you're plugging too many, it'll start derating?
That's correct. They're communicating with each other, and they all know the panel that they're connected to.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's energy management. They're managing that load to make sure you're exceeding the capacity of that panel.
Now, that is very, like, you need that, right? So, like, for example, I have a dumb system in my bus, right? That bus has 7.5 kilowatt charging, so it's like 42 amps. Right, but the problem is that the system that I have in there that talks to the EVSE is just saying, "Give me power, give me power. Turn on the relay so I can get power. How much power? Give me all you got."
Everything.
But you might get to like a charging station that can only give you 20 amps, right? There exists, most are 30, I think.
Yeah.
Now, if I plug my thing in there, that's gonna try to suck in 42 amps. Right? It's going to trip the breaker. And then all of a sudden, you're dead in the water because now that breaker is somewhere that no one knows where it's at. There's no one there to talk to. If you can go and talk, there's the phone number, like no one's there to help you. You basically just bricked that station. So that's a worst case scenario. You don't want to be that guy that plugs your car that's too hungry on a little plug that is going to brick it. So that's a really good idea to have numbers right now. Luckily, cars are getting smarter, and if you installed a Tesla, it's like it talks to the thing, and it's like saying, like, look, well, I can take up to whatever you got, and then it's like, well, I only got 20 amps, and it's like, okay, I'll take 20 amps, but I won't ask for any more after that, so you don't want to trip the breaker. It's getting there. So I don't know if this number system is needed, but obviously it is necessary for you to know how fast you're going to be in and out of places, right?
It's just to identify the fueling system because, that's all we're doing. We're putting fuel inside of our cars. It's just a different type of fuel. One thing I do miss with electric vehicles is, remember when you're filling up your gas car, how when she's empty, she rides a little rough. And then when you fill up the tank, she rides a little smoother. I do miss that with the electric vehicles because you don't get that same feeling when you have a full charge. As opposed to an empty charge, she rides the same way, right? So,
we kind of do that with DIY. Like, I know this one rides better when it's fully charged because the voltage drop.
Right. Voltage and the power.
Yes, the power is slightly higher when it's fully charged than when it is fully empty.
Yeah.
So it does feel a little sluggish when it's empty. So you could literally tell. You're like, wait a minute. You're like, what is going on here? It doesn't feel right. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe it needs to charge. And you charge it, and then the next morning you're like, oh yeah, it's nice and peppy. So you kind of do get it, but that's just on my, particular install that I have on this bus, right? With other cars, you don't.
Port on the bus on the soundbar. I forget where's the charging port on
it. So it's right on the gas tank port. So it's got like a little door that opens up, and I just put it in there. And I have 2 chargers on there that I can independently turn on and off. I have a 5 kilowatt and a 2.5 kilowatt.
Gotcha.
And and then I just got Tesla batteries, the early version of the Tesla batteries. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I mean, we always try to tell our customers too that like when they're filling out their form, literally they fill it out on your iPhone or whatever, on the mobile phone. It takes you like 4 minutes. But we try to get them to start thinking about where they're going to park their car and how they're going to park the car in the garage.
Yes.
Then we start looking at like, look, if you put the charging station here and you front load into this parking spot, you're only going to be able to park here anytime you need to charge. But if you put the charging station over here, then you can park here, this way, and this way. So, you're looking at capitalizing on maybe 5 ways that you can park the car out of 8, parking scenario. And so we're always working with the customer, depending on where the charging port is on the vehicle, to identify the best means. And then of course, you don't want to be sitting there and uncoiling 20 feet of cable every single time you got to charge the car.
Especially if you got a juice box with a giant cord.
Oh man, it's not only a tripping hazard, but it's also like the cladding, kind of spins and spirals, and you're sitting there and you're twisting it as you're rolling. It's a nightmare. Who needs that? You save that. So
it's so weird. I took apart a Tesla, the one that comes in the car,
Yeah, the mobile
right?
connector.
The mobile
Yeah, I saw that
connector.
video. Yeah, I saw that video.
I was like, I want to see how they're getting away with having such a thin cable. Like, why
Yeah.
does this thing need that? Well, I mean, it's only 30 amps, I guess. Right? That only will support 30 amps, right?
Well, the newer ones, the Gen 2 mobile connector is 32 amps. Yeah, that's
32
max.
amps.
The Gen 1s, they were maxed out at 40 amps
40
continuous.
amps. Yeah, but those were burning up all the time. So
That's correct.
so I was like,
They were heating. They were heating a little bit. They were heating. And
they
it
were
was-
melting
it's the handle.
connectors.
It's the handle that was heating up. And that.
No, wasn't it the connector, the intermediate connector to the NEMA 1450 or the whatever? I also saw a bunch of them that were melted.
Now the adapter, if you don't have a real good tight fitting in that adapter, and you don't have that adapter really plugged into that, and then of course if the electrician didn't tighten all the lugs in the back of the outlet, and the prongs, the little prongs inside the
So
outlet,
many.
there's so many things, and that's why I try my best to tell people, like, look, I understand that the NEMA 1450 is the cheapest means of charging your car. I understand it. But if you can avoid as many interconnecting parts from a transition from your main panel to your electric vehicle on something that's pulling a massive amount of load
for hours.
For hours?
Hours on end.
Avoid the legs. Let's go straight from the panel to the car. And if there's a charging station that we can hardwire it in between, that's fine. But anytime you make another, interconnecting point like that, you're just causing heat elements. You're just begging for something to go awry. So, but you're a DIY, so you kind of keep an eye on that. But it's everyone else who's not, And
I was really surprised at that what they did with that mobile connector. Like, every single part of that, right? Because obviously it's needed, because you need to be in interchange connections or plugs, because this is the one that you should be able to charge at any connector out there, right?
Yeah.
So there's needed for all these adapters, and I'm like, but how are they gonna keep them from melting? And each one has an actual thermistor inside, melted, like actually in there, right? When molded inside, so that if it gets too hot, it actually derates, which is crazy.
That's right. That's the new ones, right?
Those are the new ones.
The Gen 2s. And so, people talk about, the range anxiety and there not being enough public charging, but you and I know, most of our charging, look, I'm 95 to maybe 90% charging at home right now. If you look at all the charging, maybe you're similar. You're going on a road trip. So, but the secret is RV parks,
RV parks,
man. If you map out all the superchargers and all the destination chargers and all the charging stations in the wild, and then you're like, okay, well, that's only 10,000 ports. I need more. Go ahead and put another layer of all the RV parks out there with all the NEMA 1450s. And
have you done that?
I've done it, man. I've done that maybe 20 times.
How many RV parks are there? Is there
get around, man? I have family in New Orleans and down south, kind of Louisiana. There are no charging stations down there. So as you're driving a Tesla, the superchargers are there, but when you get to your destination, you need a means of charging. And so I've had to use a couple RV parks where I just slide in, and most of the time you just ask the guy, or the lady in the front, and they let you charge for free. They're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. This was before, of course. I haven't done it in like a year or two.
I think now they're like, so I've gone to a few of them where they want to charge you like full price, it's like $40 or something. You're like, I'm just gonna be for a few hours, man. Like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, no, if I'm gonna let you stay. And you're like, okay, all right, well, like, whatever. I guess all that money I've been saving through the years, it goes down to your pocket. But definitely, if you wanted a fast charge, that's the best place, because you literally have one NEMA 1450 on. In many cases, you have a box with a NEMA 1450 here on one circuit, and then right on the other side of that box, another box with it. So you're like, man, if you had 20 kilowatt hours, or kilowatt of charging on board, you literally could plug two of them in there. You could be fast charging. That's the only way you would be able to do it, right?
No, I love how you have two. I've always told people the only way that we're going to be able to transition to like a universal charger, like let's say everyone wanted to go to the Tesla standard, or if Tesla was saying, they came up with this new one and SAE came up with their new one, because you're always hearing about the plug wars. The only way that's really possible is to do exactly what you're doing and what the Porsche Taycan did, by having two ports. One of them has to be the universal port that everyone's going to use from here on out, and then the other one would be for that manufacturer, for the Tesla or for the Chevys. And so you start doing that. You do that for a couple of years, and then the charging station infrastructure. So that's like kind of the segue into having us only have one.
Whoever wins,
right?
Who's ever gonna win? Yeah. And it's weird because, okay, what's the best plug out there?
The Tesla. I mean, if you look at the J1772 Type 1 that we use here in the U.S., the voltage is 264, I believe, is the voltage tolerance on that connector. That's why you can't go. That's why you can't do DC fast charging on that. It's 264.
Well, it can't support more than 40 amps, right?
Yeah, amps 264 is maximum voltage. I don't know how much the amperage is that they're maximum.
Well, I know the juice box, he was doing 60 amps on a version of that, but I'm like, I don't know if that connector can support. Those pins are tiny.
Very, very tiny. Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, you might be melting connectors. I mean, you might be able to do 60 amps a few times, 6 months maybe, and then after that, your pins are all worn out and melted and stuff. Yeah, and then all the other ones are massive. That's the problem. Chademo, it's like Chadimo's like this big, right?
Yep.
CCS combo, now it's a combo. It's two connectors in one. It's giant. You're like, oh my God, you need two hands to plug it in. Like, why isn't anybody else making a cool small connector? By the way, like,
it's the power. It's the liquid cooled. Most of those charging, I mean, that the amount of current that's going through those cables, they have to be liquid cooled. And so now you're looking at an even thicker cable. Not only the connector is thick, but the cable is thick. And then when we install those, they usually only come with like an 8-foot cable. And if you're the owner of that station, you have to decide whether or not you want the standard 8-foot cable or if you want to pay extra for a 12-foot cable. And then you can order the extra 12-foot cable, and that allows your cable to kind of reach, closer to the vehicle or whatnot. So there's a lot of design flaws that we've seen.
Oh, I see, because you gotta deal with so many different cars.
Right, and different ports, and then you see some of them are positioned on one side of a street, and the only way that like an i3 can use that charger is to park, against traffic and not with traffic. And then they get a ticket, or they can get a ticket because they're parking against traffic. It's a mess.
Oh, such a big mess.
Into account when you're designing your setup.
Tesla doesn't have to do any of that. Like, if you look at Teslas, they're all like 4 foot. That's what you get, right? Because that thing's capable like 150 kilowatts or something, right?
The new ones I think are 250. The version
250, and the cable's like not super thick.
No, they're just
and the connector.
Yeah.
But they could do that because they can control the length.
That's right.
And they can control the car that it's going in. Okay, that's amazing. I don't think people get what an amazing design that is, that connector and that charger.
What I'm curious to see is if a manufacturer is going to come out and Tesla's going to allow them to use have a Tesla charging port or charging inlet in their vehicle, and maybe even allow that vehicle to use the supercharger network.
Well, supposedly anyone could do it. It's just you have to pay the licensing,
right?
Which I'm pretty sure is pretty high.
It's okay. Because follow the leader, man. Like, get in there,
Well, yes, but I mean, it's probably, I don't know how many millions of dollars it'd be to use that. Because I mean, you'd have to kind of see it from Elon's point. It's like, look, I built this entire infrastructure. You want in? Okay, you're gonna pay for it. Like,
pay for it. Yeah.
I mean, it's billions of dollars, right? Like every single one of those stations, he's paying for, right?
Oh yeah, every one of them.
And you said it's
utility and the transformer and the switch gears and the pedestals and the chargers. He pays for the electrical, contractors to go in there and do the install, all the civil work, construction. And he pays for the electricity that's actually coming out, because each one of them has its own little separate meter. And so that meter is connected to Tesla, and Tesla pays that every single month,
Yes. Yes, and then they're giving us free miles. I've never paid for any miles on supercharging.
That's awesome. That is crazy.
Never, and I still have like 10,000 miles according to my thing, and I think they're gonna expire before I get to use them. And then I think if I get another referral, which I never pushed, by the way, I made like one video where I put the thing in there. But if I decide to do that, then you get another 1,000 miles for every single sale, right, or something like that.
Yeah, I think something like that right now.
Yeah. I don't foresee pain, so I'm sure I'm not the only one. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not a normal that can get referrals or whatever. But I think it's normal. I think everybody that gets a Tesla, their friends and family eventually get one because they're like, oh my God, your car's cool.
Yeah, but still have your benefits. I mean, you look at Rich from Rich Benoit. I mean, they took his stuff away, because
they took his away.
He's messing with Tesla. And he was messing with the electronics and that's
Why do you think they did that? Is that because they were annoyed at him, or is that because he violated one of the terms of service?
I think they look at Rich and they see the intuitive that Rich has, the ambition, the DIY aspect, just like yourself with batteries, and they see what could become from the DIYers out there that want to tweak these cars and do these things, and they don't look at the repurpose and reuse that Rich is trying to do with taking these graveyard babies and building them back up to new, right? I mean, that's the repurposing that Rich is so passionate about. But I think they see that, man, if a bunch of people are doing this and something happens, they're ultimately liable for that.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, Tesla's making, they have a lot of used cars that they mostly everyone that buys a new car, like a new Model Y or a Model 3, they're trading in another car, right? So that's a whole nother market that Tesla's making, money in that.
Wait, but trading in an ICE car, or they're trading in another Tesla?
They're trading in ICE vehicles. They're trading in regular gas cars to get the electric, and so then Tesla's selling those to auto.
To Tesla?
Yeah.
Really?
That's trade-ins, values and all that stuff.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that. Oh, that's weird.
Another market that Tesla's making money on. Now, I don't know how much they're making on each gas car when they resell to the auction or the retailers. It's beyond me, but that's a controlled market that they're keeping a heavy eye on.
I guess I never thought about that. I haven't owned a car in a long time. This Model 3 is the first one that we've bought.
Yeah.
We've always been leasing cars because I'm like, we don't want to keep that. It's like even the Chevy Volts that we used to have is like, I don't know if these are gonna be good cars or not. Like I don't want to get stuck with it. Like just
the Chevy Volts, you gotta love them. Well, look, I mean, I think the Model Y, if you try leasing it, you're not gonna have the option to buy it back.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
So the Model Y, are you leasing it or are you gonna buy it?
No, I want to buy it. Yeah. Yeah, the only reason why it didn't make sense to me is because I did know Chevy's cars are so complex compared to Tesla's that I was like, I don't know if these things are going to be so problematic that you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I'm like, this is a transitional vehicle. This is not the car that I'd want to have and keep and run around, right? So, but then I was like, oh, this is a Tesla. I know these are going to last forever. I mean, I know this technology. It's batteries and a motor. You know what I mean? Super simple. I don't see why they shouldn't. I mean, like we have so much. By now, we have so many years, and they have issues. Whatever but for the most part, they're super reliable cars, right?
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah. I mean, Nikki's got one, right? I mean, she commented, earlier. I mean, and she got a really good deal on one, but I think she had a problem. At one point, she shot an episode and talked about the problem. They fixed it, but it was a little inconvenience for her to have to go to the dealership, have them fix it, bring it back, all that stuff. So.
Oh, I see. On the Chevy Volt, yeah, no, we've never had any problems. I was very surprised. 4S complex system as it was with 3 motors and and clutches and ring gears and oh my God. but it was so seamless. It was crazy.
Good.
But as far as Teslas, they have a track record of being reliable cars. So I'm like, I have no problem, buying that car. And then the other thing is that I couldn't lease it. I think I could have leased the Model 3, but it would cost the same.
It was,
So
yeah.
I'm like, why? It's like, no, when you lease it, you're supposed to get a break, on the price. So I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Let's just buy it. So we just bought it. Yeah.
I think he sees that full self-driving coming out within the next 3 years. So that's why he's not allowing you to buy it back if you're going to lease it. But mostly everyone, it used to be that the main thing you want to do with electric vehicles is lease it because the technology advances so fast that it's, you can just give it back in 3 years, get the latest and greatest, and you're still fine.
Yes. That is a model that I do with my phone. This is not my phone. I'm just renting this thing because I'm like, why am I going to pay $1,000 for this stupid thing?
Dude,
I'm going to break it.
The iPhone 6S, I think, or the 6. Yeah, I got the 6S, and I'm waiting on the 12. So I had the 3 before that, and then I went.
Oh,
and then I
going
went
from multiple
6 to 12. So once I get the 12, then I'm gonna wait for like the iPhone 24 to come out and just try it's leapfrog,
Yes, that's what you're doing. No, man, just random. This thing cost me $300 a year, but it's always new. I can break it. I actually break it a couple times a year, and I was like, oh, great, give me another one, and then they give me another one. So
that's a subscription model, man. I mean, we have financing for our customers. So like, let's say, COVID hit. And so we wanted to make sure we've had financing before COVID, but it's like 0% interest for 18 months. So if we go in and do your charging station installation, all that stuff, you can put it on a card and 0 interest for 18 months. But we were thinking about doing the subscription model and it was tough because we didn't have a real controlled access point for the charger. So that way, if like you didn't pay your bill or something like that, we could turn it off. And that was the hardest part of it. And, we didn't really want to do that. But at the same time, that's the heaviest.
You need some incentive to keep people from not, defaulting on their loan.
Exactly. And so we're doing financing now, but I eventually see us potentially, look, $20 a month or $30 a month, we'll come in and do your charging station. You never have to worry about it. And if you move, right now we offer free services for our existing customers. If you move, we'll come out and we'll uninstall the station and then we'll take it to your new house and we'll install it at your new house. And then we'll give you 15% off of that installation.
Wow.
Dude, you're moving. Like, you don't need to worry about charging. Like, you're moving. Like, you're moving your house. Like, let us take care of your charger. Don't worry about it. We got you. That sort of thing. So little perks like that. We also have like a CHAdeMO adapter. We have several of those in our warehouses. So if any of our Tesla customers need a CHAdeMO adapter, we just send it to them and like, use it, road trip, go ahead. And then they send it back.
Wow, that's a crazy thing. Yeah, because these are rare now, right?
Do they still make rare, and they, $500 or something like that a piece. And we're like,
I think it was more than that.
Don't worry about that. You don't need to.
I think it was more than that. But and it's giant.
Yeah.
It's huge. It looks like a gas can. So you're right. The only time you would ever need it is if you're traveling, right?
Traveling, and you got another withdrawal to call us ahead of time. Go.
Wow. Oh, that's interesting.
Being a customer of ours,
Yeah, you can rent them like that. Wow. Yeah. So we're both we're trying to look at rental business.
Yeah.
Subscription models. Yeah, in our business. I want to rent the electric cars because here's the thing: these are really expensive, right? Like this bus right here. You for the crappy one that needs to be painted, needs to be restored. You're talking about $30,000, right? By the time you're done, you're like, oh, it's $100,000 car, and then you gotta convert it, and then you're talking about another $50,000, right? In labor and parts and stuff. You're like, no one's gonna. There's weirdos. I mean, rich people and crazy people are the only ones that can spend that kind of money on a classic car.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're like, the rest of the world can enjoy them. And I'm like, unless I make 10 of them and I take them to Hawaii, and then you can rent them.
Yeah, Hawaii's a big market. We plan on getting into Hawaii next year. Next year, by the end of 2021, we're hoping to be in the top 30 EV-friendly cities in America, and we hope to be in Hawaii by the end of next year.
Oh, yeah, because Hawaii rates high, right?
Way higher.
Honolulu. What's the city? Which one? Which one are you going to? Yes, I'm thinking Maui too.
That's where I want to go. So.
Okay, I'm thinking of Oahu because it's got 5 million visitors every year, but Maui is such a better island. I think it's such a cool island. Dude, let's partner up. I'm gonna be over there. I mean, I don't know.
I'll give you a call when we're heading out there. I work on the licensing.
Yeah, because I'm gonna have to. I mean, it's a weird thing. Yeah, I'm gonna have to build at least. It doesn't make sense to have like 1 or 2 cars. I'm like, I have to at least have like 5 vehicles.
Yep.
Maybe 10. I don't know. Because then I'm gonna have to hire someone. Right. At first, I have to rent a place to store the cars, and preferably it's gonna have to be somewhere near the airport. Right, because I envision a plan where you fly out there, you land, and then you just go to your phone and you're like, okay, I'm here, I'm flight so and so or whatever, and then you meet. So I mean, maybe you don't even meet anyone. Maybe I'll just tell you where the bus is parked, and then you just drive up to it and put the key or click some pad or.
You gotta have somebody to keep it charged. You gotta always have it charged. So.
Yeah, it's gotta be charged. So I gotta hire someone to go and deliver the bus and park it in the spot, or go pick up the person, right? Like, let's say you land there, and then my guy will just pick you up, and hands you the keys. Be like, all right, we'll meet here whenever you're at the end of your vacation.
Yeah, it's funny. We work with a lot of airports, and you have the parking in the airports, and so some of them have we installed. I guess here in Austin we have. An airport parking lot that's covered that has 12 dual port charging stations. So there's 24 ports, and there's electric cars parked there on every single day. And each one of them they all have to have their charging door open. And if it's the Tesla, they have to have their adapter, inside and seated inside their vehicle. And then basically the tenant goes around and he just checks all the chargers, and he rotates the cables to each one of the cars to make sure that when the customer comes back, the car is fully charged. And so,
what?
Yeah, some pretty cool stuff that they're doing.
Just to make sure that your Tesla's charged.
Yeah, so you get the parking, of course, the covered parking, but you also, as a courtesy, get a full charge, when you come back to your car. So.
But it's a J1772, so he can undo.
Yes, and he doesn't.
I see.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to need app to open the car or do the port or whatever.
That's right.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's what I envision. I envision like people going and renting their, electric classic VW bus.
Love it.
And you pick it up at the airport and you deliver it at the airport when you're flying out. We'll have a guy be like, oh, here you go. Here are the keys. We go charge it. Maybe by then you'll have charging stations at the airport, so it doesn't even have to leave the airport.
That's right. That's right.
And, right? I'm like, let's make this happen. That's how I want to retire.
Do
it. Yes, we'll plan it. We'll announce it here next time we come into the thing, and to another the next podcast. Nice. All right, man. Well, listen, it's been nice talking to you. You never know. Someday maybe I'll be in Austin again. By the way, Austin is an amazing city.
Yeah, we loved having you down. We had the Fully Charged Live right before this whole COVID stuff happened. That was our last hoorah event. So that's always like the happy days is the Fully Charged Live event.
Right. That was it. Then the world just ended after that. How is that crazy? Have you heard? Is there a lot of people moving into Austin from the big cities?
We're getting a lot of, people from up north and people from west. They're all meeting. It's usually like Phoenix, and then Austin are kind of like those spots where people from west and East Coast and north. We're getting our fair share. I mean, you get it. Austin's growing, man. It's yes.
You know what's so weird that when we were there, we went to pick up my friend or whatever, and I don't like we literally drove through that empty that quarry or whatever that you guys have there, where Tesla's building their.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It's so weird that I know exactly where that is because we like got lost and we're like, oh my God, where are we? This is like some quarry.
It's right by the airport too, yeah.
Right by the airport, right? I never in my life did I think that it was gonna be like, oh, this is where the next Tesla factory is gonna be at. It's just kind of happened.
It was random. I mean, I live 4 miles away from the factory.
Wow.
I live on the east side of Austin, so property's pretty, cheap and affordable, and you get some good deals out there. But I would have never thought in a million years that Tesla would be building a giant Terafactory 4 miles away from my house.
Okay, and last time I was there, we had a free day, right? And so, this COVID thing was already kind of starting because when I flew there, I took my mask.
Oh,
we flew with a mask on. Now, fully charged, I were like, you know what? No one is wearing them. I thought it feels kind of weird. We don't want to be those people. So I'm like, let's just put them away. It's fine. We'll risk it, But when it came time to do stuff, we were like, let's just go explore the city, right? I've been to Austin a few times, and every single time I'm there, I'm having fun because it's always for some event, right? South by Southwest, I was there a couple times to do that and stuff. But this last time we went and we took the tours and we went to see the downtown and we took that duck
tour.
Took
the duck tour on the lake? That's awesome.
Yes. So the guy was telling us all about Austin stuff and he was giving us like some like just things, it's like, oh, how many people move from California to Texas to Austin, every day or every year or whatever. And I was like, wow, so I'm like, if I ever move out of California, probably Austin would be one of those places because it's like, it's so different than here. Like, I love the attitude where like, it's just everything goes. There's so much, like, it's not so rigid and structured like here. Like, now, like, how over there, like all the restaurants are like just in the parking lot. You just put a little tent or a thing. Everybody's out there eating. It's like you don't need a building. You don't need like, it's like, why? You just put some chairs and a table and under a tree and you're eating barbecue. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't exist here in California. Here in California, everything's rigid.
Truck parks and trailers.
I mean, it's kind of starting, but it's not like over there. Like definitely there's a different attitude and it's so drastic when you see it. When you come from here to over there, you're just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I totally love this. That attitude thing where it's like everything is, nothing is so rigid. Now we're starting to see it because of this pandemic thing.
Right.
Like restaurants you can't eat inside. So now everybody's starting to like put pallets outside.
They're adapting, man.
They're adapting. Yeah. Right. But I told my wife, I was like, oh my God, this is turning into Austin, like, there's just like makeshift little setups to eat and stuff, and I'm like, this is the thing that I love about Texas.
Yeah, one of the favorite things with the restaurants, they did away with menus. Now you do the little QR code and then it pops up the menu on your phone and you gotta, you see everything on your phone. I mean, hell, that's where your attention is anyway, right? So they just figured. Yeah. So I'm seeing that a lot with the restaurants. So it's
a perfect combination of old and progressive and new tech, right? Because there's a lot of new companies, like tech companies in Austin.
Yeah, Samsung, Apple. I mean, we got a lot.
And now Tesla's going there.
Dell, yeah.
I'm like, well, and and then the housing is still kind of affordable. I'm about to get my first home.
Nice.
And oh my God, it's so expensive here in California. Congrats. It's kind of sad that I'm like, oh my God, yeah, the economy's going down the crapper, so the properties are gonna tank, right? I think we're coming to a recession, yeah, which is sad. You don't want to be that person, but I mean, it's kind of working. It's gonna work on my advantage because I'm gonna buy I don't want to pay $500,000 for a house. I'd rather pay $250,000 or $250,000. So all I have to do is just wait 18 months.
The taxes and the insurance are going to eat you up, and then you got the homeowners association dues. And those are all things you have to consider in addition to the principal and interest of your mortgage. So yeah, it's you gotta watch those things, man. So
I don't know. Or I just moved to Texas, and then
look, if you're ever in town, I mean, our headquarters, I mean, we got, it's like an open co-working space, man. If you're ever in town, flying out for someone, you want to come visit the shop, we'd love to have you over. Come in. We got coffee, sodas, and conference room, Wi-Fi everywhere. We got a couple of different offices you can have, for the day.
Whoa,
so
whoa!
Your home is your home. So
there you go, Austin. We're coming, Austin. Yeah, definitely. Austin sounds like a good place. I think a lot of people are moving there. I know Joe Rogan is moving there. You know that guy, Joe Rogan? He does podcasts.
Oh, yeah. No,
he's like, I'm out of here. He lives here in LA, and he's like, I'm out of here. I'm going to Austin.
Yeah. I saw that on the news. I don't know where he lives though. I think Matthew McConaughey lives here too. A lot of movie stars live here.
The guy that did another one of my heroes, Robert Rodriguez. He's from Austin.
Nice.
Right? He did a mariachi. Like, I grew up wanting to be a filmmaker, and that guy was a self-made filmmaker. He made a movie like with nothing outside of Hollywood, and he remains till this day outside of Hollywood. He's made, he's got his production studio there. I didn't know he was in Austin until recently, and I was like, oh my God, that guy's in Austin also. It's like, how is it possible that Austin just keeps getting better and better, in my eyes anyways, right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
okay. I still love Los Angeles. I mean, what you guys are doing out there, y'all are, I mean, literally between San Francisco and Los Angeles, I mean, y'all are literally pioneering the electric vehicle movement in, like, for the rest of the world. Or for the rest of the U.S. at least. I mean, if you see the amount of business that we're getting out of those two cities, it's
they're
leading,
hey, but moment it's there in Austin.
Yeah, and Austin's getting there, man. I mean, we're
right. Those guys are kicking ass right now. They're like building so many cars, and they're all cool cars.
Yeah,
I just had them in the podcast.
Gotcha. We're doing 400 installs a month now. So
wow.
In Austin, I mean, we're doing about 80 installs a month in Austin.
Oh, I see.
And that's between Tesla and everyone else, right? So
yeah.
I can only tell you what the numbers that we're doing for the cities that we're in.
Yeah,
it's growing. I mean, it used to be, I used to do 20 a month. Hell, I used to do 10 vehicles a month.
Yeah,
we're up there. So it has been growing. I'm scared because, I mean, EV sales are 1% of the EV market, or the car sales market. And if it goes to 2 or 3%,
you can't handle. You're overwhelmed.
We're overwhelmed. We don't know what to do. That's the exciting part, right? Scalability of this thing. So
I'm the same way. Like, I was broke for years and years trying to do this YouTube thing and the batteries, and all of a sudden I'm like, Jesus, like, literally my channel is moving like $250,000 worth of like batteries.
Huge.
I was like, what? Like, people are buying this stuff, and this is a DIY crowd, the frugal crowd.
Yeah.
Now, once we start figuring out how to make these battery stuff easier and quicker, and I actually make a video where I show people from like beginning to end how to like install a battery on their house. I mean, that's crazy. It's gonna be.
Are you gonna manufacture them? You think you?
I don't want to. I really don't want to. I've been down that road of like having employees and stuff, a big company, and I'm like, I'm trying not to, but here I am, moving $100,000 worth of my product. That's just so much. We did $150,000 of sales last month, and it's just my product. And I'm like, I once again here, I need to get employees so we can like do the thing. I'm like, no.
That's Jag 35, right? That's
Jag 35.
Love it, man. Love it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, you never know, right? It's like, I think I need to make money right now, so then I can go play with electric cars and batteries for the rest.
Love it, man.
And right now, it's just there's opportunity, so I think I got to make the most out of it right now. So
everything you're doing, man. I mean, people really need to realize what you're doing for the battery industry, for the Powerwall, DIY Powerwall industry. I mean, the batteries are the key to this entire circular economy ecosystem that Tesla and other companies are trying to create, this full sustainable thing. You cannot have it without batteries.
Yeah.
So everything you're doing with, man, just don't stop. Keep doing it. We love you over here. We're always watching and supporting you guys. Big Patreon supporters. So, anything that we can do to make it easier, let us know. I mean, hell, I don't think I've ever installed a Jehu Garcia, Powerwall.
Well, we're gonna have to send you one.
We'd be interested in taking care.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, because you're in some people's garages already installing the charging station. You should be installing batteries.
That's right.
Right? Like, this is the only thing that's going to help this crisis right now. Like, literally, batteries. Like, people are saying, like, hey, I'm doing my part. I have solar panels. But you're like, no, you're adding to the problem. There's way too many solar panels. That's why we're having to sell energy to, like, our neighboring states. Right? In the early part of the day. And then in the late part of the day, everybody's going home, turning their ACs, and then the solar panels are not doing anything anymore. So that's why, that's crazy. That's where your batteries would be. So your batteries would be eating the surplus in the morning, and then they would dishing it out in the afternoon. And see, people don't get that. No. And if we can get 100, a million homes to do that here in California, like let's say in Southern California, then the grid here wouldn't be suffering these blackouts. It
wouldn't be as compromised. Absolutely. Yeah.
So
if there's a smarter way to do it. Just keep doing it, man. Do everything you have. Just keep pouring into it. Like I said, we're proud supporters, man. We'll continue to support you, and just continue to coach us up and teach us everything because we're inspired every single time you release a video. We love it.
All right. Well, thank you for watching. Where can people find you and get your services? I know that everybody's buying cars right now, so.
You're buying an electric car, even if you don't, if you haven't purchased an electric car, you just want to figure out, what's going on and kind of everything around. Our website, smartchargeamerica.com.
Smartchargeamerica.com.
Literally, you can see the locations in the cities that we're in, and we try to make it as easy as 1, 2, 3. There's 3 buttons on our website: request, select, and charge. And you hit the request button, you fill out our form, upload photos. We send you a couple of different estimates, coach you up, let you know, kind of where you want it and which one you want. And then you select which one, and then we come in there and we start, we do the installation for you. So
there you
we'll
go.
show you some pretty cool stuff along the way. And, sometimes, we'll know a little bit, some tricks on the electric vehicles and kind of, give you a little extra for that. But like I said, I mean, our goal is just to make it easy, that transition from fossil fuel to electric. If we can make that easier, then we're doing our part to make that transition, possible. So.
Wow. Okay. So that's cool, man. Yeah, definitely. We'll see any of the viewers. So if you're looking to get a Tesla or any of the other cars, there are
any cars.
Yeah, we don't like to think about those other cars, but there are. There's plenty of them out there.
There is to know about them. Jaguars, the BMWs, the Audis are really popular now. The Porsche,
Audis,
the Taycans are really popular now. So, and each one has their little nuance on their little charger that comes with the car, and you got to make sure that you know everything about that stuff. So that's where we come in. We try to help you out. There you go.
Well, I hope all the success to you guys, and stay in touch. We will definitely visit you next time we're in Austin, and come by when you're in LA.
I appreciate it, Jay. And look, man, thanks to you and the team again. Congratulations on the new shop, and best of luck on the new home. We'll be wishing the best for you guys.
Yeah, we'll have to get that, and we have to install a bunch of chargers in there too. I'll give you a call. I don't want to install them myself. I already did that.
Here, take the paint out.
All right, man. Thank you for being in my podcast. We'll see you.
Likewise. Have a good day.
Okay, you too. Bye.